What's up, everybody? I have a brand new custom tactics for you. FC25 post-patch counter meta. It's the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow. And you see here the team that I'm using it with. And the reason for this is simply because the 4-2-1-3, which I was using as well, is very popular right now. And it is a very good formation. However, the fact that a vast majority of players are using it means two things. One, you can predict what your opponent's going to be doing, and two, you better believe they're used to playing against it over and over and over. So if you can come up with a counter to that, they're not going to be used to playing it, and you're going to know what's coming at you a vast majority of the time. Hence why I came up with the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow in these tactics, and we're going to go over why you can get a leg up going into every single game, especially with the current meta being dominated by the 4-2-1-3. Now, we will start with the build-up style, and we will go counter. Now, you can go balance with this. However, counter gives you the best forward runs after you win the ball, and the reason why that's good is because it matches up with our defensive style, which is pressure, right? The minute the opponent loses the ball, we want to immediately start trying to win it back, and that's because counter to what many people believe, you will actually give up less chances the higher up the field you press, because when you're sitting back further, you're giving the opponent less space to cover to get into dangerous areas, and especially in this current meta with the difficulty of defending, even if you're a good defender, they're going to break through and get some chances. So the further up the field where they're forced to make quicker decisions and where you force them to make mistakes, the less likely they are to break through and get chances. Yes, they'll still break through from time to time, but it's going to be a lot less likely than if you sit back and invite them into those more dangerous areas. So I strongly suggest you go counter and combine it with the defensive approach of aggressive. Now, this is 91 and above. You see here I have it in 95. You can put anywhere between 95 and above. I know it's not popular because many people are either going with 50, which is balance, or they're going with 70, which is high. Now, the biggest difference between 70 to 90 and 91 above is because both of them trigger the offsides traps, but 91 and above will actually make your players start pressuring the opponent immediately when you lose the ball. So if you're already playing that high line, right, it's already designed to make your opponent make mistakes because they don't have as much space to work. So on top of that, on 91 plus depth, your players immediately start pressuring them, which speeds up their decision making even more, which obviously causes them to make more mistakes and gives you the ball back. On top of that, if you have the ball, what's not happening? They're not attacking you. So it's one of those things where the best defense is offense. So I strongly suggest if you are playing a 70 line, go to 91 plus and make it aggressive. See how it works. Now, obviously, if it doesn't work for you, change it back, of course. Now, on top of that, if you're using a balance line of 50, it is going to take a lot of getting used to, right? Because it's a total different ball game from 70 and above. For one, because you're playing the offside trap, so your center backs are sitting extremely high, and if you're used to trying to track runs and you start manually doing it, but the rest of your defense is holding the line, you're going to put yourself in a world of trouble. So first get used to that 70 depth, right? And kind of the way that plays difference if you're used to that balance 50 setup, and then work your way into 91 plus because it's the same high defensive line, the same offside trap holding line, except for now, immediately once you lose the ball, your players will start pressing, which forces, like I said earlier, your opponent into quicker decisions, right? It rushes them and makes them make mistakes, and they give the ball right back. The last warning I'll say is it does, as it says on the screen, take more stamina away, but I showed you the team I use. If you can go for relentless players, that helps. But even if you don't, you get your subs. You can make up to 5. That's all I do. I think I only need 3 subs, honestly. 3 players that lose enough stamina to have to sub. But that's it. That's the only difference. So don't think it's going to just totally drain your entire team like constant pressure. It will not. But it's very similar to constant pressure, just with way less stamina drain. I don't know why it's not super popular right now, especially for those players playing 70. Probably because it does pull your players a bit out of shape, but not enough to not make it worthwhile to get the pressure on your opponent to try to get the ball back. Especially with how prominent tackle backs and things like that are right now. It's already a very pressureful game, right? Because nobody wants their opponent working the ball into the dangerous areas because of how hard it is to defend. So this just maximizes your opportunity to win the ball back. It plays right into the meta perfectly. I'm telling you, try 91 and above. If you're going at 50 right now, work your way up like I said earlier, but it's worth a try, and just pay attention to your subs and make sure those who are, out of stamina, you start to see which minute of the game. Like I make my subs all around like the 70th, 75th minute. So just add that note in there and you should be cooking. And now for the player roles. We will start in the front and go back. So first off, your left striker. This can be either one. They have two different settings. You can make it on your left striker or your right striker. So for me, my left striker, Chiesa, I have him on advance, forward, and support. Simply put, this goes right along with our high-pressure defense. Once we lose the ball, this striker will immediately press the opponent, which already with my other settings he's going to do anyway. And not only that, but this causes this striker to come two more. Now, he'll still make runs in behind, but he will show two for the ball, which is important because my other striker will be stretching the opponent's defense on advanced, forward, and attack. So, you have Chiesa, advanced forward support, Butragueño on advanced forward attack. Either or, it doesn't matter. You can have one, right side, left side. Just have one showing two, one making runs, and obviously from there, manually you can manipulate them however you want. This just gives you a good starting point with your strikers as far as their spacing, their run making, and all that goes. Now for your cam, I go shadow striker and attack. This is because I want Nwaneri in that cam role, but also making runs past the striker sometimes. Sometimes he'll just get the ball at the top of the box and rip shots. Basically, he's working as a triangle with Chiesa and Butragueño, and it's especially important right now because you will be going up a majority of the time against the 4-2-1-3. So this creates a 3v2 against the two center defensive midfielders, right? Then once you get past them, you can do your work to get past the defenders. The whole goal here, though, is to bypass those two CDMs, and having this cam here and this narrow setup, especially with the two CMs on either side supporting him, really helps. So go with shadow striker attack here. Now, you can go with playmaker just like in the 4-2-1-3. You can absolutely do playmaker instead of shadow striker. However, in this 4-1-2-1-2 narrow, because of those two CMs on the side and their settings, which we'll get to, I strongly suggest you keep this cam on shadow striker and attack. Let him make certain runs in past the strikers. Let him settle in at the top of the box and rip shots. It's perfect as a shadow striker attack to complement the two CMs. So we'll get into that now. We will start with our more attacking CM, which for me it's Zidane. Now you have two options here, box to box and playmaker. Box to box gives this player a little bit more of a defensive assistance role, right? And they'll work up and back. However, I like playmaker, and then you have two choices within playmaker. Box to box, you just have one choice. Within playmaker, you can either go attack or roaming. For me, I like roaming. I just found that they're a little more creative. They find the space a little bit better, whereas attack, they stay more in their one area. It's a little bit more predictable for your opponent. So for this player, I would go with playmaker roaming in particular. However, if you're playing a tougher opponent and you need a little bit more defensive assistance, you want to know that a player's going to be in that area, a little bit more, you can go box to box. You can also change that player to a deep lying playmaker or even holding too. But just for regular run of play, right, I would either go box to box, so then that player's still there to assist your front three, right, and still providing some defensive support, or playmaker roaming, because you really want that CM to be that connector, that wild card that's going to help in the attack, but also can help as an outlet pass from your backs. And moving on to our more defensive CM, which for me is Pedri. I have him as a deep lying playmaker build-up. Now here's a little bonus. He had Deep Lying Playmaker Plus, and I went ahead and did the evolution. It was just a one-game Evo and made him a Deep Lying Playmaker Plus, which is huge in this instance, right? Because it was a one-game, why not? And he is an absolute beast already. Now he's got the plus role, and his job is essentially to assist Matuidi, so he won't go too far from home defensively, but he will still support the front four, which, as I told you, the other CM, for me it's Zidane, is either going to be on box to box, or for me, playmaker attack, right? So he'll be joining the two strikers in the cam, and Pedri will be there to provide assistance, and then manually I can push him a little more forward or pull him a little more back and just keep him home depending on my opponent. So why this is so useful is that when you're going against a 4-2-1-3, you are going to smother that central area where their cam is. You'll have a CM on each side, then a CDM before they even get to your back four, helping out defensively. And that will frustrate your opponent who's trying to attack through their cam and get it to their front three. Not to mention those two CMs can also push up and out wide and help your wingbacks with the two wingers in the 4-2-1-3. So for this CM, you want deep lying playmaker and build up the more defensive of the two. Next, we move to our CDM, which you see here. I have Matuidi with an evolution. By the way, he's incredible, but that's besides the point. I have him on holding and ball winning. Now, you want your CDM on holding no matter what, but you have a choice between ball winning or you could go defend. Now, there's one difference. Ball winning, he's strictly going to sit in between those two center backs right there, sit at home in that number 6 role, and just look to aggressively win the ball back. Now, on defend, he will sit in that area trying to win the ball back, but once we do win the ball and your team's in possession, he will scoot a bit forward and provide a passing option. For me, I have enough passing options. I have enough support with my two CMs and Cam right in that area. I want him staying at home, just worried about defense, and if he does get the ball, he immediately distributes to either the wingbacks, the CMs, the Cam, whoever, but holding ball winning is the way to go for me. Choose between ball winning and defending on your play style. And moving on to our wing backs, both your left and right back have the same setup, and you have a choice here as well. For me, I go full back balanced. Now you can go full back and defend here as well. Full back and defend, they just sit a little further back. Full back balance, they scoot a little bit further up to become a passing option. Obviously, you can manually move your defenders. This is just really their starting point. But you definitely either want full back and defend or full back balance. I will say this, if it's fullback and defend, they are a little closer tucked into the center backs, but it's not crazy noticeable in game. I just go with balance because I do like playing the ball once we win it to my wingbacks' feet, and this gives them the best starting point to do that, simply put. But either way, it's a very defensive setup, and that's what you want for your wingbacks in this 4-1-2-1-2 narrow. And the last thing I do want to add, though, is that they will make some runs offensively. You still have them on that starting point. Their initial setup is defensive, right? Because you don't want them just making their own runs. You only want them making runs when you trigger them, or obviously when they have the ball is the most time I make runs with them up that wing. Not necessarily a lot of times will they go all the way, but they'll get into the attack sometimes and make direct passes to your strikers or your cam. But nonetheless, they are on this defensive setup to start. And center backs, as always, are going to be on defender, defend. You never touch the center backs, or you just make sure they're on this setting, then never touch them. Defender, defend is a must. Whether they have the plus or plus rolls or not, you just have to decide if you're going to use them without the plus roll or go get a defender with that defender plus or plus. But, I repeat, defender is a must setting and defend is the go-to. Then do not touch them. Keep that setting forever. And last but not least is your goalkeeper, especially in this meta. I have Emiliano Martinez as 88, who has a sweeper keeper plus. That's what you need to have, the sweeper keeper role, and you want it on the build-up focus. This is because you want your goalkeeper having the best ability to come out and recover the ball, or at least disrupt an attacker, because in this meta, attackers are going to get through from time to time. And you being able to pull your goalie out and the goalie's ability to get close that space down quick is going to prevent goals from being scored without a doubt. So, that is the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow counter meta. This will help you dominate against 4-2-1-3s like anything else. You have to get used to playing with it, and your skill on the sticks is going to prevail above all. So you combine that with this 4-1-2-1-2 narrow to counter that 4-2-1-3. Keep working at it, and I promise you will be successful. So leave in the comments how it goes. Hope you enjoyed, and until the next one, keep grinding, keep having fun, and peace out.